So last week, Dany Garcia drops a major XFL breadcrumbs and sets the timeline for kickoff in February 2023. Our own Jay Noakes wrote this one up. He was the one that discovered all this stuff. So a month ago, of course, Sportico hosted an online event called Invest in Sports, and the new XFL owners, Dany Garcia and Gerry Cardinale, were panelists during this event, and they mentioned that they would be more news to come. Well, to say the very least, it hasn't disappointed. In early November, XFL News Hub confirmed the initial report from Ben Fischer that the league hired Russ Brandon as the new league president, a position that was once held by Jeffrey Pollack, and also announced some more hires. So remember, what they were saying was that they were slowly going to build till and just kind of announcements and everything. So it was a slowly roll up crescendo type thing. So then on Thursday morning, Dany Garcia took to Instagram to share pictures of the XFL League meetings they had back in New York in October. Garcia shared 3 photos, one of which included her, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, sporting his signature People's Eyebrow, and Redbird Capital founder and managing partner Gerry Cardinale. And the other showed them what seems to be an official countdown. This is on her Instagram, which you can see. So here is the timeline based on the picture from Dany Garcia's Instagram. What we're going to have is June 18th, 2022. That's not too far away. This summer will be player combines. Now, you're going to get a lot of people asking the question, is this tryout? I don't know if it's a tryout. Most likely not. You'll be invited. What the system was before, well, the system was before seems like the system that they're using now. Because look at when the official kickoff of the XFL season begins, February 18th, 2023. So that's when the XFL will kick off a season. They're not moving it to the middle of summer or April, any of those kind of things that they were talking about. It's actually going to be in February, following the same timeline that the XFL did back in 2000, when it was a week after the Super Bowl. The XFL begins, of course, and also notice that this does not coincide. And this was back in October that this picture was taken, that it does not coincide, really. There is a little bit of overlap of the USFL season in 2023 if they all stick to the same timeline. So June 18th, player combines were to begin. Most likely, because they're following the same timeline as they did before, that means that players were invited. If you want to play in the XFL, you need an agent. And if you want to get tape, you need to do things like fan-controlled football or hub football. Those are basically your 2 options to get your name out there. There's not going to be open tryouts, I don't think, for the XFL. I'm hearing that there are not going to be open tryouts for the USFL. So I would assume the XFL is going to play that kind of game, follow that same suit, because there was no open tryouts in the original XFL 2.0. They were players that were invited based on the scouting and recruiting that they did in the XFL. To follow the same timeline, January 9th, 2023, XFL training camp begins. That also follows the same timeline that the XFL had in 2020. So it looks like that's what they're doing there. So June 18th, 2022, you expect XFL player combine. January 9th, 2023, XFL training camp begins. February 18th, 2023, the XFL season begins. That's the timeline that was released on Dany Garcia's Instagram. Also, you can see here the picture of The Rock, Dany Garcia, and Gerry Cardinale in front of the Hulk. Also, there was another picture that people were talking about based on this timeline. And that was, of course, the 3 heads of the XFL standing with a picture of all of the XFL uniforms. Okay, my friends, if you're watching this on YouTube and Facebook, which of the uniforms is missing from this picture? You've got Dallas Renegades, New York Guardians, Tampa Bay Vipers, Seattle Dragons, my DC Defenders, LA Wildcats, and of course the top team, St. Louis Battlehawks, from my friends in St. Louis. The one not shown is the Houston Roughnecks. We know that they've had a lot of issues with their logos. Are we going to get a complete design of the Houston Roughnecks logo? Is Houston going to move to San Antonio perhaps? Or the Roughnecks, I should say, moving to San Antonio? Or is it just simply that they couldn't fit that other mascot or that statue in the picture, which is quite probable? I mean, they probably could have put him next to the St. Louis Battlehawks guy, but who knows if that was an Easter egg or not. We love Dany Garcia. She loves to put these Easter eggs out, and for us to speculate, because that's good business and that's good. That builds excitement and interest in the nerddom that is the XFL fans, us guys included, out there. Those are some interesting things. Check out Jay Noak's full article. There are two other points that I wanted to mention about all of this stuff. One is our man Jake Henry put this out as something to think about. He put this on the Twitters. He said that on this day, which was December 5th, that the St. Louis, that the XFL announced its 8 cities and venues it would call home for the kickoff of the season. This is so. Why am I putting this out there, and why am I telling you that this is there? I'm telling you because I wonder in the next week or so if they're following the original XFL timeline. Are they going to announce cities this week and next? I'm going to safely assume, I'm going to say probably not, because I think they would want to do some kind of big thing with that. I also think that both the USFL and XFL are giving space to the CFL, even though the interest in the CFL, we have helped increase the interest in the CFL from XFL News Hub and CFL News Hub. I don't think they want to step on their toes, but it's just something to keep in mind if the XFL is following the same timeline as they did in 2020 with the combines in June, the January spring, the camp. I mean, I have my summer showcase media things right here. I can pull them out for you. That we got this was basically the XFL combine was this summer showcase. I got a couple of them. You can see work next to my Alf. But we went to this in June and got a chance to interview Oliver Luck and meet some of the people from the DC Defenders. So if they are following this timeline, then that means that we could potentially get cities, some type of city announcement this, or a tease, if anything, in December. I don't think so. Remember, they talked about the merch shop was coming in 2022. You don't want to release team names or location, or you could do cities, but team names and all that other stuff until your merch is ready. Something that the USFL has kind of stumbled in as they've gotten clearance on their trademarks. Then you would see gear come in. I think the XFL wants to do it right. So I just something to keep in mind out there as well. And if they're going to follow the same timeline, that means that we should be getting coaches soon. You have to announce the cities at some point. I mean, the USFL is already actively recruiting coaches for their season because that's coming up soon. I expect to see potential coaches announced in the XFL starting in February. In that February to March range, you'll get coaches in that range, and then you'll have a couple lead ups to, and then of course the player combine and all that stuff. So you have cities is first up to bat. Are we going to see that in December? I'm going to say probably not, though maybe we would. Not this week, but next week. If it was going to happen, it would probably be next week. I think the CFL will have its run this week. Then the USFL is going to have their announcements. I don't think either side really wants to step on each other's toes. Maybe we get the city announcements. Is it going to be 8 or is it going to be 10? Are we going to get Mexico and some other location that might not be in the United States? But I'm not allowed to say that because I get instant hate from people that just from CFL fans that just get so upset about it for whatever reason. Something to keep in mind, the XFL timeline is out there. This is planned. You can see it on the screen in the back. And we are just going to have to wait. But this was great news, a nice little Easter egg. Not really picked up much on the media front because there was no official announcement. Hopefully we get some kind of official announcement soon. But my friends, we have a timeline. We have a kickoff. And that means we have events. Something is going to happen in 2022 involving the XFL and XFL players. June 18th is the time frame. One last thing to think about when it comes to this thing and the summer showcases. They were all not on the same weekend, and they all transpired over the course of a couple months. So if the XFL is following the same suit, coaches in February and March, and team presidents to follow that. Then you go into the summer months with the summer showcase, then followed by, kind of a quiet period, December draft, January training camp, February kickoff. Does it sound familiar? Because that's exactly the same timeline the XFL had in 2020. The only thing is now we just got to wait for an official announcement. Oh, and one other caveat to add to this, TV contracts. When will that come out first? Will it be TV contracts and then cities, TV contracts, and what their plans are? We're just going to have to stay tuned, my friends. But we actually finally have XFL dates and a kickoff in February 18th, 2023.